Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios Brisbane on 102.1 FM.
And broadcast across Australia on the Community Radio Network.
You're listening to Zed Games.
With 10 years experience and over 500 episodes,
Zed Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture.
Want to reach out? Message us on Facebook at ZedGamesAU.
Welcome to Zed Games. It's Hazel here in the studio, and with me I've got
Rani, and we have a very special guest today.
a very special guest.
Very special guest.
I wouldn't use that, You just have a guest, I would assume.
No,
But
he's special.
hello, I'm Stocky.
Stocky, the station manager.
Yeah,
Well, we have a pretty jam-packed show tonight.
we do.
We got some news.
That surprises me.
We got two very special reviews
Yes.
for tonight, and we have a ton of game music.
Yeah, we do. We actually have so much gaming music for you this week.
So much.
So
it's
much.
Totally packed. I don't know how we're going to find time to talk.
No, we won't.
But first up, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Wonderlands. We've already had this conversation.
Yeah,
but
we've
it's
had
nice
this
to have
conversation.
it. Yeah, but obviously that not everyone's been involved in that,
No.
so it's been just a private
No,
one.
the world needs to
But
know.
yeah, been playing Wonderlands, which is a real hate play. Like I've played Borderlands 2. If you play Borderlands 2, you play Wonderlands. That's my takeaway from that. The thing that immediately frustrated me with it when I turned it on was that immediately you've got like various like loot boxes, things like that, just sitting around, like crates and stuff, and they were identical to Borderlands 2.
Did you open up Borderlands 2 like on a
I just
different
like, it's like that same safe,
Side-by-side
like that exact
comparison.
same safe.
Yeah.
And I was just like, nah, what have you? And I was like, oh, there won't be guns in it because it's like a fantasy thing, and there are guns in it. And I was like, oh, this is just a complete.
They've just copy and
you
pasted.
just yeah, slightly better melee weapons, and that's it. Like that's the improvement.
Yeah.
And it's like a different mechanic of moving around the map, but that was
Yeah.
it. And so finished that the other day. Thank
I've
God.
I've been playing a free one called Totally Accurate Battlegrounds, and I'm pretty sure this one's been around for a while. But basically, you're like a
has.
rag doll. Like it's like physics-based. It's just a battle royale thing. Anyway, I can't kill anyone. Sometimes I can survive. I have not won a game yet. Anyway, it is chaos. It is my exact kind of like have fun with your friends, scream into the microphone. Like vaguely across your microphone.
I gotta get golf with your friends.
Oh yeah, you
for-
do.
for
It's
the
so much
squad.
fun. So much fun. Definitely worth it. Have you played golf with your friends?
I haven't.
Golf, but like you're playing. It's like mini golf, but you're playing like first person as the ball.
Yeah.
So one of my secret pleasures is golf games. So
Yeah,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and you're like on the course with like all of your friends, and you can bump into each other. So
You can just knock them out of the way.
you can just waste a stroke on like slamming your friend back to the start if you feel like it.
Yeah.
amazing.
It's like croquet and bocce combined with mini golf, and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. But I think
it's a disaster.
we have some news now.
We do have some news from the lovely Zahra. Coming right up.
This week in gaming news, Embracer Group takes in Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and more. Development studios Eido Montreal, Crystal Dynamics, and Square Enix Montreal will be acquired by Embracer Group, who has entered an agreement to acquire the studios as well as multiple IPs such as Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain, and many more from the Square Enix catalogue. The acquisition also includes over 1,100 employees in 8 locations with a total purchase price reaching $300 million. This agreement is expected to close later this year. We are thrilled to welcome these studios into the Embracer Group. We recognize the fantastic IP, world-class creative talent, and track record of excellence that have been demonstrated time and again over the past decades. It has been a great pleasure meeting the leadership teams and discussing future plans for how they can realize their ambitions to become a great part of Embracer, says Lars Winsfors, co-founder of Embracer Group. Alleged Pokemon thieves killed. Police officers in Florida, USA opened fire on 4 suspects who are believed to have stolen Pokemon cards, as well as some pizza. After multiple units converged on a target in Florida in response to an ordeal with obscured registration tags, they spotted 2 teenagers who were immediately deemed suspicious due to wearing hoodies and face masks. A security officer in Target had alleged that the teenagers had stolen some Pokemon cards and a pizza, confirmed via security footage. Police attempted a takedown and then opened fire on the teenagers, injuring 2 and fatally wounding another, with a 4th suspect detained. None of the teenagers were carrying any weapons. County Sheriff Marcos Lopez has defended the actions of the officers involved after facing backlash for the over-the-top response. Halo Infinite had a massive update. Halo Infinite's second season is here, and it is a big one. With new maps, modes, and cosmetic items, the detailed patch notes needed a 6-chapter table of contents. Some of the new content includes a King of the Hill, attrition, and a Battle Royale-inspired Last Spartan Standing game mode. Updates have also been made to some of the movement abilities, affecting what players call skill jumps, which utilize movement tricks to pull off some very hectic tricks around the various maps. The left shoulder pad of the Jorge 052 armor kit now also shows the correct texture for the more observant fans out there. Sonic Prime teaser trailer is here! Netflix released a trailer montage showing off some of the kid-friendly animated shows that will be joining the roster. Right at the end, we got to have a glimpse at everyone's favourite blue hedgehog, also giving fans a listen to voice actor Devin Mack's performance. And now for some upcoming games. May 5th brings Best Month Ever to the PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One and Switch, Trek to Yomi for the PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4 and Xbox One, and Warhammer 40,000, Chaos Gate, Demon Hunters for the PC. May 6th brings Crowns and Pawns, Kingdom of Deceit for the PC. May 10th brings Songs of Conquest for the PC, and This War of Mine Final Cut for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. May 11th brings Brigandine for the PC, Source of Madness for the PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One and Switch. May 12th brings Achilles Legends Untold for the PC, Cantata for the PC, The Centennial Case, Shijima Story for the PC, PS5, PS4 and Switch, and Flipping Cactus for PC. That's it this week in gaming news.
Thank you, Zahra. So that was some jam-packed news. The Pokemon shooting?
Yeah, the Pokemon I think is the most surprising thing that I got out of the news that week. I don't understand.
I don't know what to say about it.
I don't think there's much to say other than that it was not, like, there's no way to look at that and
Police
make sense of it.
shooting over stealing Pokemon cards from Target. Like,
just don't steal Pokemon cards.
Anyway, Sonic Prime.
Sonic. It's a good time to be a Sonic fan now.
It's such a good time to be a Sonic fan.
No, but if I was, the films would have completely ruined it.
The second one is really good. The second one's really good.
I haven't seen the second one yet. It's like on my list. I keep seeing the billboards for it or like the bus stickers or whatever, and I'm just like, yeah, it's time to go see it, but no.
No way. My trust has been betrayed with the first one. I can't.
The first one was.
Well, you know
the second one. It was beautiful.
You know how you
and
hate
the problem
play
with
games.
the first one was that there wasn't enough Sonic characters. There were too many people.
Yeah. It's not. It was just Sonic, and that
now we
was
got Tails.
Yeah.
And Knuckles.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a TV show coming too. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm ready to give Halo a chance again after how old am I versus how I played Halo for the first time when I was 6 and decided that I hated it because I was playing with like all my guy friends, like essentially brothers, and Hazel's nodding. Hazel knows like, why I would hate Halo after that. Anyway, I've decided that my lifelong ban on Halo is over now, and I'm going to play it. I'm going to give it another chance, and I think that Ez is going to be really proud of me for doing that.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you,
for
Stocky.
making the effort.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Zahra says you're banned from the show for not liking the Sonic movie.
Oh, well, look, I tried,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get someone else in here.
Yeah, like really quickly.
Is Ben still around?
Yeah, go get Pat.
Yeah. Pat, where are you? No. I mean, I think the news was an interesting one this week, but I'm looking forward to Halo.
Halo. Sonic.
Some of the games coming out.
More studio acquisitions, because that's just what we report on now, I guess.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that recently.
Yeah.
I think that's just the point in life that we're in right now. People just acquiring other studios.
We have a very special review from the lovely Paul.
Game developer Leonard Menciari has made something of a name for himself over the last decade, being the driving force between two projects, Riot, Civil Unrest, a 2D Riot simulator, and The Eternal Castle Remastered, a fictional remaster of a 2-bit pixel art cinematic platformer in the vein of Another World. If there's one linking theme between these projects, it's that they absolutely drip style. Sometimes to their own detriment, but they are, if nothing else, massive head-turners, if only for niche audiences. Which brings us to Trek to Yomi, a love letter to Japanese samurai cinema of the 50s and 60s, developed along with studio Flying Wild Hog, who also made this year's Shadow Warrior 3. The whole game is black and white, and is honestly incredible to look at. My background is in film, and a real bugbear of mine is people thinking that black and white cinematography is just about desaturating the image. Ghost of Tsushima took this approach: desaturate, throw on a film grain, and invoke the name Kurosawa, and you're set, right? Dear God, no. Trek to Yomi has a cinematic camera, which means a lot of care can be taken in creating each shot. The level of control regarding tone and texture is phenomenal, and composition is jaw-dropping, employing every trope in the genre you can think of. Lots of movement with elements such as wind, rain, and smoke in the frame, silhouettes, tight control of the depth of field, and excellent camera movement. While it still looks like a game most of the time, all of the fighting, for instance, happens on a 2D plane, and that's not really a typical cinematic perspective, it always invokes the feeling of what it's referencing. My screenshot folder from this game is absolutely massive. I truly feel it is one of the most beautiful games ever made. And that's good, because the rest of the package is a bit... You take on the role of Hiroki, the samurai defender of your people. After a flashback to your childhood, you take on your adult role and things go badly for you and your people quickly. The title of the game, Trek to Yomi, Yomi being the land of the dead in the Shinto religion, will probably give you a trajectory of where the game is going. You'll make your way through the linear levels, free exploring the environment while outside of combat, and then entering a 2D plane when it's time to fight. It makes the combat easy to read, and also means you know when you're safe. Throughout the game, you'll build up your moveset, and pretty much at every point of the game, I had a win combo, a powerful move that pretty much guaranteed a kill on pretty much every enemy, which meant almost every encounter was pretty much the same. At the start of the game, it was just parry and strike. Then enemies got harder, and I got a combo that stunned enemies, allowing me to execute them irrespective of how strong they were, excluding bosses. So I did that for a couple of hours, and then I got another one. It doesn't give you a lot of reason to experiment with your moveset, other than a few annoying enemies, which nothing really seemed to counter. For some reason, you can't block a kick, which staggers you. This resulted in a couple of deaths, where I was between two enemies and one was just kicking me. I couldn't fall backwards because of the combatant at my rear, so they just slowly kicked me to death while nothing on my controller could do anything in response. All I learnt from that was, don't go near the kicks. The combat does feel pretty good though when it's working. Blocking and parrying, rolling, striking. You even get a few projectiles in the game, which I rarely use but occasionally were indispensable. I'm looking at you, kickers. Enemies are pretty much all humanoid soldiers of one description or another, but the bosses are generally really fun, providing a decent challenge and a nice change of pace. Except for the final boss, which I just didn't enjoy. It's a sudden spike in difficulty that seemed out of place. I took this opportunity to play with the difficulty modes. The easiest mode is listed as just for story, but the final boss was still an alright challenge, and the hard mode was, well, suitably brutal in my case. Of course, I then made the fatal flaw and beat the final boss, and a crime happened. One that's happened in a few games of late, and I do not understand it. I beat the boss, and that was it. I don't just mean the end of the game, I mean the end of my save file. No more experimenting with all my moves, no going back to earlier chapters. I had collected everything in the game except one thing. It's just over. Start a new game if you want to play more. Even a new game plus would have been nice, so I didn't have to start out with a basic moveset again. I do lie, however, as there is one change once you beat the game. A new difficulty is unlocked, which makes everything one-hit kill, with the exception of bosses. This includes you, of course. It's a fun addition, and I replayed a little of the game in this mode, and it certainly suits the style. Dialogue is in Japanese with subtitles. Surprisingly, English voice acting was patched in just before launch, and it's nice if you want them, I guess. But to me it sounded very weird as a Japanese man yelled out at me like I was a British street urchin. The original audio is very solid, although it can be a slight problem reading subtitles if you're involved in any on-screen action. Generally, dialogue is kept for the less action-focused moments, however. Speaking of audio, music. Yes, this game has music. And, quite expectedly, it's an extremely faithful, traditional Japanese soundtrack. Composers Cody Matthew Johnson and Yoko Honda have done a wonderful job creating a traditional but intense and often spooky soundtrack that accompanies our hero through his mythological tale of tragedy. A few minor points. The game has a branching story, probably. Literally at 3 points of the game, it just asks you a question. It's the same question each time though, so I'm not sure when it counts. It might just be asking you if you're sure. I can't tell you the differences though, because due to the aforementioned save game wiping design, I wasn't able to experiment, and I wasn't quite ready to replay the entire game just to check. Also, throughout the game you can find a bunch of collectibles in each level that give you a little bit of associated lore. It's fine, but in practice all it does is make you run around the edges of each area looking for secrets instead of naturally following the flow of the game. It's a problem a lot of games have, the "oh no, I accidentally went the right way first" problem. So it's forgivable, but I'd still prefer if we could move on from that kind of design, or at least if I could train my brain to ignore it. Trek to Yomi looks amazing, sounds wonderful, the visuals are fantastic, it plays decently, although lacks substance. But did I mention the graphics are top notch? This is a game you can all use to point out what a massive hypocrite I am. Visuals are of course important, but I'm always ready to ignore graphics if the gameplay doesn't measure up. Last year's Ratchet & Clank, for instance. Trek to Yomi, however, it had me in its clutches. I couldn't stop playing, I just wanted to see the next thing. Am I shallow? Probably. Style can be substance. At least that's what I tell myself on my throne of hypocrisy. I played the game on PC via code provided by the publisher, Devolver Digital. The game is also available on PlayStation and Xbox platforms for around $30 Australian. It's also available on Game Pass.
Thank you, Paul.
Paul's a hypocrite.
I can't wait to be kicked to death in Trek to Yomi.
It does sound like the kind of game that I'm going to really enjoy.
Just a cinematic experience interrupted by being kicked to death repeatedly.
Plus it's on Game Pass.
And plus it's
Yes!
air horn time.
Microsoft, please.
We really got to get the little soundbite for it, hey.
Oh yeah, we should definitely do that. No, it definitely sounds like the kind of game that I'm really going to enjoy. But
it does seem like a you kind of game.
Yeah, look, I'm easy to read. Let's just...
I didn't mean any offense by it, but it does seem like a you kind of game.
I'm proud of it. It's fine. It means I'm easy to like get gifts for or like recommend things to. They're
When's
like,
your birthday?
you'll love this. In January.
Don't say it on air.
It's in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to sound great.
Yeah. I can't appreciate that. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whoops.
That's I'm sorry. Sorry, Rani.
Wow. Why would you point this out, Stocky? How dare you come into this show?
I'm equally as shallow as Paul, so if it looks great as well, like that's a huge draw card.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. No, I'm
Well.
100% shallow.
Are you sharing Paul's throne of hypocrisy as well, or is that a...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
We're all
yeah.
hypocrites here.
Yeah.
And now, I believe Rani's got something special for us.
Yeah, absolutely throw me in the deep end.
Yeah.
No, this is relevant. This is like a pun, but not a pun. So, yeah, the team playing along at home can tick off another bingo box if they want. I'm here to review A Memoir Blue. And A Memoir Blue is an interactive poem about a superstar athlete and the all-encompassing love between a mother and daughter. But I thought it was so much more than that. A Memoir Blue highlights the stress and melancholy that can come from being in a spotlight from far too young. It explores the strain that that position puts on a family and navigates the trauma such as that a lifestyle like that can have on a child. So it's pretty sad. Like, I was pretty sad playing it. And it's not a game like many of you are going to be used to be playing, because it's an interactive poem. So you're not navigating a world like you would usually navigate a world with your arrow keys or your WASD. It's an interactive poem, so it's mostly just point and click while watching a story unfold. And I've played a few interactive poems like Florence and those sorts of games over my life. And I like them because it's a half an hour to an hour of really simple playing, like just immersing yourself in a story and a world. But I got a little bit bored with A Memoir Blue, and maybe that's because I just was not feeling any game at the point when I was playing it, but maybe it was the fact that I felt like it wasn't interactive enough. And I also sort of felt like there weren't enough moments where if I couldn't immediately figure out what I was meant to be doing in terms of interaction, I was just kind of staring at a half-submerged radio in water, because it's all sort of based around this idea that the main character, Miriam, is a swimmer. Anyway, it doesn't help you out as a player. So usually games will, like, flash that, oh, here, this is what you're meant to be clicking on. So I'm just kind of clicking around the screen trying to figure out what I'm doing. That's one of the downsides to games like this. Interactive poems, they don't necessarily think that way. They don't have to think that way. Usually you can figure it out pretty quickly. But it's not so consequential. And I think that I was just finding the story itself heavy. That might have been what it was. I have my own sort of experience being in the spotlight or being pushed a certain way by parents. So one thing that I always love about interactive poems as well is the soundtrack. So Miriam's a swimmer. She's been a swimmer since she was a kid. She's a brilliant swimmer. Everything about the soundtrack and the visuals just sort of actually submerge you in water. So you start the game with a poem, rather. You're in her apartment, and all of a sudden it's filled to the brim like an aquarium tank. Which means that the music that was playing on the radio is now sort of warbled and garbled, and it's so much fun, and I appreciate it even though I can't, like, fully experience it. And I don't know why I do this to myself, but every game has a good soundtrack, and I always try to, like, get as much out of it as possible. So there might be some subtleties that I personally am missing. But there are songs on the soundtrack, like songs that play on the radio, that immediately, like, I paused the game to go open Spotify and add it to playlists. That's how beautiful some of these tracks are. In terms of narrative, you start, Miriam's an adult, you know, she's lying on a couch. She's clearly, there's trophies around. You can pick up what the story is from the visual aspect. Everything is blue. Like, not everything is blue, but it's blue. The color scheme is blue. It's water.
Yeah.
It takes us, like, retrospective. You know, she's thinking about her life. She's thinking about everything that her mother did and sacrificed to get her to where she is. But you can see, and I immediately got the sense that she just was done with it all. She was just sad. She was over it. And I think that's where I found the game for myself quite difficult, quite challenging, because I related to it. I was like, I get it. You're burnt out. You've done everything. You're trying to figure out, like, this has been your entire life up to this point. So you move through the game by pulling things up, like pulling the water up, draining the water from an apartment, picking photographs out of the water. Some of them disintegrate. Some of them you can't grab. Some of them you're clicking on, and you'll keep clicking on them, and they won't pull up. And you're like, I could really get that sense of, like, trying to reach into water and grab something that you just keep missing it. You're like, I gotta grab it. It's like bombing for apples, and the apple just keeps getting further and further down. It was beautiful. I loved it. even though I got bored of it. It's not long. It's an interactive poem. They don't take long. If you want a couple of hours of the afternoon just to sit down and chill out and be immersed in a story and a world, that's perfect. It is on Game Pass. That's why I played it. I was like scrolling through Game Pass. Like, what can I play? It only came out in March. And you can get it on everything except for Mac.
Well.
Sorry. Like, I even checked that because I was like, oh, it's on Steam. Maybe it's also, like, maybe it'll run on Mac OS. No, it won't. I'm sorry. But yeah, I thought it was beautiful. I think that I really just enjoyed the soundtrack. It was one of those games where I just let it sit on the title screen for a while just to have the music in the background. You know, I could open it up and put it in Spotify, but no, just keep it on the title screen. That's what I like to do. Yeah, A Memoir Blue. I think it would be really nice as a controller. I played it on the PC, but I've played other interactive poem type games on like the Switch. I think it's really, really good for things like the Switch. I think having the joysticks.
Well, listeners, if you play A Memoir Blue on controller, please let us know on Facebook.
Absolutely.
You're listening to Zed Games here on 4ZZZ, and folks, it's time for us to say good night and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Good night.
We'll just end with Stocky saying good night like that.
See.
Yeah.
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 Good
All right.
lullabies.
Yeah. Alrighty.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Zed Games.
If you'd like to listen to more, check out our podcast on Spotify.
Or follow us on social media at ZED Games AU.
See you next time.